Everyone dreams of living an uncommon life, and the best asset you have to achieve your dreams is you. Welcome to the Uncommon Wealth Podcast. We're going to introduce you to people who are living uncommonly. We're also going to give you some tools and strategies for building wealth and for pursuing an uncommon path that is uniquely right for you.
Hello, everybody. You're listening to an episode of the Uncommon Wealth Podcast where I'm your host, Philip Ramsey.
And I'm Aaron Kramer.
Just Aaron and I today.
Yep.
Get us, which is pretty much your guys' favorite listening.
Right?
I think so.
I hope so.
It's into my head. Honestly, we need to do a way better job of the analytics on this thing, but I'm sure millions of people are listening by now.
Oh, yeah, because we're
just
super...
my mom and dad. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay.
My daughter listens to it.
There we go. And she does.
She does. Like, we'll like hear, like, she'll be in her room and has a little eco or whatever the thing is called. I had it going.
Shout out to your daughter.
Yeah. Good job, Elena.
Well, today we're going to talk about something I'm freaking hyped up on Mountain Dew Chip. And it's a book that you have told me to read for at least a year and a half.
It's been a little while because I love the book so much as well.
And so I finally... I got to be honest with you, you actually just bought it for me. And you bought it in the audio form because you and I are more audiobook kind of guys.
Yep.
Okay? But today we're just talking about it because it was that impactful. I loved it. It is like the perfect book for uncommon wealth. In fact, if anybody's going to jump off the proverbial bridge like we talk about, you should be reading...
Chop Wood, Carry Water.
You sure should. By Joshua Metcalf.
Yes.
Amazing book. Because what would you say the synopsis in your head is? And I'll give you mine.
Synopsis. I mean... Basically, it's going to teach you how to just tackle life and see how you need to be seeing it. And in today's world, it's going to be the exact opposite because you feel like you get clips just of success all the time from other people. But the book tells you and it goes through it in a perfect way. Mm-hmm. And we'll get into it. But and it's like a story of like how to just prepare to love the journey.
Yep. Finding joy in the journey, finding joy in the process, and finding that the little things that you do great add up to be something even bigger. But it's not about the end goal of getting on top of the mountain. It's about the small incremental things and finding joy in that.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the story. That's the premise. And we're going to call it parable, if you will.
Yeah.
I think that's not really the exact word of it, but the premise of it is there's an individual who's always wanted to be a samurai archer.
Him and his brother.
His brother gets in a car accident, and that part of it was like kind of weird for me because it's a parable, so I didn't know how much was like true and not, but... Yeah,
so but the standpoint is like him and his brother both get in a car accident, but like his brother ends up getting paralyzed, waist down. Mm-hmm. And so, and I remember the doctor telling him, you know what it's like for a marathon runner to run a race. And
that's this individual's every day. Like this is like your brother's every day. So like just the normal like living is kind of like him running a marathon.
Yeah.
Every day. So it takes a lot of time. So anyway, his name is John. That is actually healed from the accident. Goes over to Japan and goes to the samurai school to become a samurai archer.
Hold on, you got to back up because we just talked about this before we got on air. My point this is going to tell you how geeky I am because the kind of movies I like. But the hook point for these two brothers, why he wanted to be a samurai, was because of Jackie Chan.
I love that. I just kind of glossed over that.
Okay, that one got me hooked. Like right off the bat, it's going to be a great book no matter what.
I love this thing. All right, so he goes over and goes into this village, this samurai village, and then there's this, what do they call him? Like the master? The
sensei.
The sensei master, yes. And immediately, let's just pretend the sensei master is like the best mentor you ever had.
Yeah.
Okay? And John shows up, he's like, I'm ready to shoot arrows. And the sensei master's like, in time, you'll shoot arrows.
Yes.
But right now you need to chop wood and carry water.
Yeah.
Because as we have all the amenities that you ever want, but we don't have water and we don't have heat. And so the way we do that is we chop wood and we carry water.
Yep.
And John's like, but I came here to
become a samurai.
To be a samurai archer.
Yeah.
And the master's kind of like, that's not how we're going to do it. Like we're going to start with the smallest things and to kind of groom you to become something that you've always wanted to be.
Yeah.
But it's not going to be a quick process, right? And so at this point, I'm like, okay, I feel like this is me. I feel like I'm John, and sometimes I want to try to circumvent or try to cut corners just to try to get something as quick as I can.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's just start, because early on in John's kind of time there, what's the guy's called? What's the
Sensei?
The sensei. Thank you. I should just write it down. Sensei. Sensei says to John, like, hey, do you know how a bamboo is grown? And John's like, no, I don't know. And the sensei ends up telling him that many people don't ever get to the point where they can see the bamboo grow because they just lose heart. They don't want to do it. Because what happens is roots underneath the ground need to grow before the bamboo goes up.
Yeah.
But once the roots do grow, it ends up growing about 90 feet in 6 weeks. So pretty quickly.
Yeah.
But it takes about 5 years in order for them to see the bamboo grow. And many people don't get to the 5 years because they're like, it's broken, it's done, it's not working.
Yeah.
Done. And I'm like, oh man, like this is my book. Like,
Yeah.
I needed to hear this. And so I just think that's a great lesson, because you need to be disciplined in the things, even when you're not seeing progress.
Yeah.
Keep watering, because you know it's producing something that you can't even maybe see,
Yep.
but the byproduct is pretty sweet. So I was telling this to somebody because, like I said, I'm pretty excited about this book. And somebody's like, have you heard about the Hawaii bamboo?
Oh,
Okay.
I haven't.
Well, many of you may know Hawaii had a huge fire. And there was some special, like, famous bamboo there in Hawaii that got smoked by the fire.
Okay.
Guess what's still standing today? The
bamboo.
bamboo. Yes.
Yeah.
Why? Because the infrastructure of roots that's created before has withstand even the fire. So I was like, this is awesome. So that was one part. But there's
Yeah.
a lot of stories in this. And like every chapter is kind of its own little lesson.
Yeah.
And every chapter is like, I'm telling you guys, it was like, I needed to hear this.
Yeah.
I needed to hear this. I need to hear that. So what's one chapter that you remembered, or what lesson?
Yeah, so it's the lessons, because it's been a little while since I've read it. Like, but I've read it. I like this book so much. I listened to it twice. And guys, if I read a book, it's a big deal. So I don't know if you guys know, and I'm just going to share it with everybody. Like, I'm dyslexic, so if I'm going to sit down to read a book, it's big.
Yeah.
So I read it. So I've gone through it 3 times, but it's been a little while. So I don't know what chapter, but the first one that hit me was the ice climber. Because, and I feel like a lot of people are here, or maybe it's just me. It's okay if it's just me. But like, we all just look at the top of the mountain where we want to be. We're going on this journey of whatever you're taking off on. Like, so ours is like growing the business. And, you know, I just sit there and daydream. I just can't wait to like be at the top of the mountain where you're successful. You got your full book of business.
Yep.
You know, everything's going great. And I'd always just like think about those days, you know, but in the way that the sensei explains it, he goes, oh, it's like an ice climber. They cannot look at the top of the mountain, because if they look at the top of the mountain, they're dead. They have to be so focused on their next step.
Yep.
One step after the next.
Yep. They can't focus on the top, or else they're going to fall off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my gosh. It's like, that's the importance of just focusing on what's in front of you and being there in the presence, like of the right now.
Right.
So that was mine. What was the one?
Yeah. So there's a couple things. So one thing that he goes to the sensei and says is like, hey, listen, sensei, what if like I continue on your program here? Like, how long does it take me to be a samurai archer and be the best? And the guy's like, 10 years. He's like, okay, fine. Although longer than I thought. But okay, what if I stop chopping wood and carrying water? Like, let's just,
all this chores.
let's stop the chores. Let's move on to just shooting arrows.
Yeah.
And the samurai goes, 20 years. And he's like, I don't think you understood me. You know, like
he freaks out.
Stuff. Yes. And he's like, so what if I just focus solely on the archery? And samurai's like, yeah, probably 30 years.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay. And just freaks out. And the thing that I thought was really cool was when just the demeanor that the writer was talking about the sensei, like he was gracious with him. Like,
yeah.
I understand, but like there is something about just the repetition of doing something that you haven't even loved to do will get your mind in the right place to be able to do the things you want to do. Well, guess what John doesn't do? He does what Philip would have done and like not listen.
Yep.
So he goes out to the archer and always just keeps shooting. And he hurts his arm.
Yep.
Because he's been shooting too much. And so the sensei goes to see John and he's like, hey, how are you? And, John's upset, depressed, frustrated.
Can't shoot for a long time. And the sensei's like advice was amazing. And this one I was like, oh man. Do you remember what he said? No, I don't.
He says, listen, I want you to have an identity that's outside of just being an archer.
Oh yeah.
I want you're like a child of God. You're not just an archer. Like that's what you do, but that's not who you are. Like who are you? And this is who you are. You're not this. And I thought, how many people, even in this uncommon journey, feel like their identity is caught up in what they're doing.
Yes.
Not who they are. And so I was like, come on now. Because one, I saw myself a lot in John, but really good lesson.
Yeah.
And I love just okay, I'll let you talk because I have one more thing.
Okay.
I just want to talk
I know, so another one in there, because that was the other big one I hit. So you just said that one, but I'm glad I thought about this other one. Is John was out there, he's shooting arrows or something. It's getting dark or something. And basically he tested his sensei, like, well.
No, so because I just read it. He was like, the sensei was trying to like pour into John.
Yeah.
And finally John was like, you're just old and washed up.
Yes.
Basically.
This was it. Yes.
and so the sensei graciously was like, hey, come back at 10 o'clock tonight.
Yes.
And so John comes back at 10 o'clock and he thought he was going to get beat or like sent away.
Yeah.
He was like, I should never have talked to him like that. And the respect there, like
yeah.
The sensei comes with two arrows. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, okay. Did John have to shoot one?
No.
Okay. So like,
it's pitch black though.
It's pitch black.
They couldn't even see the trail.
I'm going to shoot like he goes. You can't shoot you can't even see the target.
Right. Well, he comes with two arrows, and John's like, "Why is he bringing arrows? Like, what are we doing here?"
Yeah, but I just remember like this. It's like he shoots them like the farthest target away. And he goes, and John's like, "It's not going to hit it." And all they can do is here's a thunk. It hit the target.
Thwap.
Yeah.
So good.
And so he's just like, what?
Yeah.
And then he goes into explaining like how this repetition over time and taking your time and following the process and like creates this like just like parable like amount of like ability to do these crazy things even at his like age, but he's been at it forever,
Right.
So
the confidence that he had to just go bring two arrows. And not just one, because that could be lucky, but two.
Oh, yes.
And he puts one right in the other one. Kind of like the old, what's the Robin Hood, where he splits the arrow?
Yeah.
Basically that happens.
Because they walk down and see it, right?
No, John sprints to the target.
Yeah.
Because he was like, nah, this didn't just happen. But I do think there is some things, like I would say in my life, just like scuba diving. If you train enough, like something happens underwater, you just react.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what the sensei was showing him. It's like, hey, I've trained my body and my muscles this whole time. Another thing that I think was neat was John, when they finally did start shooting arrows, it was like 7 yards away or 7 meters away, which isn't very far. And John's like, come on now. And he's feeling confident, like, okay. First, the sensei is like, we're going to focus on your standing. And John's like, I've been standing my whole life. I'm good. Thank you. And he's like, no, we're going to focus on that. So always this patience, buddy. Patience, grasshopper.
Yeah.
And then at one point he was like, okay, I've gotten this target. Let's go to the big dog. And the sensei moves his like elbow even a half an inch and it misses the target.
Yeah.
And his point is like, you moving just barely here shoots this off completely off target.
Yes.
So what a perfect example in, I think, our own lives to this uncommon journey. It doesn't take much to get off kilter.
No.
And I would say 95%, if not 100%, is going to get off kilter at some point.
Yeah.
So who do you have in your life to be able to point you back in, regroup, redirect you in your own path? Anyway, so I love that part. Okay. I have one more that I loved.
Okay.
And again, I'm really highly suggesting every one of our clients every person that wants to go down this uncommon path to listen to it, because it does get daunting. This uncommon path gets daunting. And at times I need to hear this. And it's funny because we've done a podcast about my family and I walking and hiking up a mountain.
Yeah.
Remember this? And how I was like, maybe a quarter way up the mountain, I was like, I can't wait to get to the top, and like not even being present. And all of a sudden God like kind of reminded me, like, Philip, focus on right now. You know, don't worry about the top of the mountain. Focus on now. So I feel like God's done a really good job of being super patient with me, but this book is helpful.
Yeah.
Okay. So my last thing that the sensei, after 10 years of John being at this place, the sensei says, hey, I want to let you know that you have a lot of wisdom that you didn't have before.
Yes.
Now you have it now. And I want to make sure that you're always a guest to people and not a pest.
Yeah.
And I'm like, John was like, what's that? And so the sensei's description of this was 90% of the people that you'd go talk to just wants to be seen and heard. That's all they want. They don't want your wisdom.
Yeah.
And so don't give them the wisdom if they don't want it. It's being a pest if you're doing that.
Yeah.
You're just pestering people because they're not going to listen and they're not ready to it. They just want you to be seen. They just want to be seen and heard, basically like appreciated and loved.
Yep.
Fine. But for the people, the 10% that ask you your advice, then you can give them your wisdom.
Yeah.
And then he said something that I think is even more. He's like, I've been pouring into you and giving you wisdom because of the circumstances you came here to learn from. To be. So that was my reason of always pouring into you and giving you my wisdom. But I want you, when you go out, to be a guest to people, not a pest.
Yeah.
And I thought that was super good.
It's so good. Because I just finished the book up. It's over a long time because I've been listening to it with my daughter because I wanted her to listen to it. But I remember that hits me so much harder now because people are like come to you and they have a problem.
Yep.
And with us, I mean, just me and you at nature, like we want to help people. So it's like, well, hey, and you start ripping off things that they could be doing to help. And like,
they don't want
like the sensei, they don't want that. They just want you to listen.
Yep.
They just want to vent.
Yep.
Get it out.
Which is therapeutic in and of itself.
Yes. Yeah, so it's like, oh my gosh, I just need to shut up and listen.
Yeah.
Like people don't care what I have to say.
Yeah.
You know? So it's like, it's such good advice. I did like the one other thing I thought was really good in that book was when it was really cold out.
Oh, yes.
Rainy.
Yeah.
He's like, I already training in this. Like,
yes.
I can't shoot.
Yeah.
And like, he was having a hard time. John couldn't hit the target and all these things or something like that.
Yep.
And he kind of was whining about it. And the sensei's like, look, if you want to be a samurai, like, you got to be trained in all conditions.
Right.
You got to be able to, like, your fingers, you can't wear these big warm gloves and pull back the arrow. Like, you got to be able to do it.
Right.
No matter when.
Yeah. His point in that I took out of it was, listen, you would rather be under scrutiny here right now in bad conditions than under the spotlight when you finally have to do it.
Yeah.
Right. And so your training falls to your, what did he say? Something about like your lowest performance falls to your highest training or something like that.
Yes.
So like we need to train to the worst because when you pull back, you want it to go to the highest of your training versus like, I want to peak performance and I really want to do awesome. And then, but you haven't trained. And so you can only maybe do that for so long. And then your training lacks. And so it falls down.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's
good.
There's so many principles on there that I feel like are just really good.
Yeah.
Really good for life, really good for character. And like, this would be a book that I'm going to put on when we're driving someplace. Cause it's only 3 hours long.
Yeah. It's not long.
I should mention that. And so when we're driving like with my family and just having a good conversation, because like you said, this is kind of an uncommon path to this world that we live in today.
Yeah.
Falling victim to things and
just wanting things right away.
Yes.
You know, like, and not understanding, like, there's a lot of things that need to be done that you don't want to do. Like, John did not want to chop wood and carry water.
Do any of it, really.
Yeah, he didn't want to do it. He wanted to do the one thing he loved, and that was he wanted to shoot arrows.
Yep.
You know? And so, but by the end, he learned to love it.
He respected it, right?
Yeah.
And like, that's the thing that at the end of the day, like, I want to be just very happy in watering the bamboo.
Yeah.
And let God sort out the rest.
Yeah.
And can I take joy in the smallest of things, knowing that those little things although be great they might not be great in and of itself, but over time, those things add up to something that's way bigger than I could ever create. And so there you go. Chop wood, carry water.
I got to tell you this because I think the listeners will think it's funny. But so I remember there was a podcast we were doing a while back, and we're talking about it was a game day, or maybe it was a podcast. We were just talking, and I think I had just like finished the book again, like at some point, or it was like the follow up to this book, because this author has a few of them.
Yep.
And I'm like, this is why me and Philip work so well. I was like, because Philip, like, you love game day.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, game day, you are pumped. Like, you're ready to go, but like practice, it's like kind of like, I don't need to practice. Let's game day. And I'm like, but like me on the other hand, I'm like, let's practice. Let's fine tune our skills. Let's practice, and then I will put off game day way too long. And it's like, so we like even each other out so well in that standpoint. So, because we both do everything we're supposed to do, but like us together, it's like you get me like, Aaron, take a freaking step, shoot the arrow, because I'd just be finding myself, I'm chopping wood, carrying water, chopping wood. You got to go shoot the arrow, Aaron. It's like, okay.
There's a balance.
There's a balance. So it's fun. Like, I do think like it hit me. I'm like, man, this is how like we really just like mesh, like you lead well, like, and help me do all that. So.
Yeah, because I will say that you can only go so far in and of yourself. And then it takes a community around you to be like, oh, wow, like you're way different than I am. I didn't even know that could be that way.
Yeah.
You can just shoot the arrow and just see what happens?
Yeah.
No, man. So thanks for listening. You've been listening to Uncommon Wealth Podcast. I've been your host, Philip Ramsey.
And I'm Aaron Kramer.
Until next time, go chop some wood and carry some water.
Yeah.
I love it.
That's all for this episode, brought to you by Uncommon Wealth Partners. Be sure to visit uncommonwealth.com to learn more about our services. Don't miss an episode as we introduce you to inspiring people who are actively pursuing an uncommon life.